tonight, the 6 o'clock scramble, the 6 o'clock, saving your 6 o'clock sanity. So here we are, we come home from work, we're tired, and we have to figure out dinner. I do not mind cooking ever if I know what I'm going to cook. But if I have to come home and figure it out, that's what I don't like. So as your kitchen crusader, and I take this cooking for all of you, I take it very, very seriously because I want to help you. I want to help make things easier for you in the kitchen. So since I started pressure cooking, I'm going to turn this off for just a second, about 3.5, 4 years ago, since I started electric pressure cooking, I have realized that this small appliance deserves a ton of attention because it is something that's going to save you a lot of time in the kitchen. It's going to help you leverage your time. It's going to help you utilize things that you already have on hand. As long as you have a pantry that's got some fairly good inventory in it, you can pull things out of your pantry and make some really nice meals in R2D2. So tonight, though, what we're going to do is we're going to make the one-pot Cajun chicken Alfredo pasta. Now, in your pressure cooker, that is going to be a 7-minute dinner. Who doesn't like that? If you don't have your electric pressure cooker yet, guess what? You can come right over here to your stovetop and you can make it in just 15 minutes. So that's not a bad turnaround on a meal either. Now, this is a recipe that you're going to want in your repertoire. Now, right here in R2D2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to the browning setting. And if you want to, Pat, you want to bring the camera over? And I didn't tell you to do that you were going to do this. But I want him to show you what's down in my pot because this is super, super important what we have in here. And you guys have heard me say, now, can you see it, Pat, what's down in there? Okay, so see all those good little brown bits down there? In there? That's my fond. That's super important. And that came, you want to show them what's on this plate? That came from the chicken and the kielbasa that I browned off ahead of time before you guys came in to cook with me. Okay, so what's in the bottom, we want to utilize at this point, and we're actually going to put our garlic into our pot. Now, if you want to cheat a little bit, have you guys tried the gourmet garden products that are freshly minced aromatics, like the garlic and the ginger? I use these all the time. Tonight, what we're actually going to do is we're going to use our garlic press, and we'll press some fresh garlic into our pressure cooker. There it comes. Okay, so there's one. How about we do 2 cloves of garlic tonight? Oh, look, this is how you tell if you have a good garlic press when you open it up and everything is right there. Don't you hate having to stick your finger down into your garlic press to dig that out? I do not like that. So look, let's try it again. And I can smell that garlic. It's wonderful. So what we're going to do at this point, we've just stirred our garlic around. It's very aromatic. I can smell it. At this point, we're going to add 4 cups of broth to our pressure cooker. Hear that? The sizzle. That's awesome. We always want to hear that sizzle. So I'm just going to add 4 cups of broth to my pressure cooker. Here is 1 pound of small penne pasta. We're going to add that. So what do we have in here so far? Our garlic, our broth, and our penne pasta. Now, Pat, I'm going to ask you to do a close-up again of our pot because I'd like for you guys to see down into my pot here so that you can see that when we're pressure cooking our pasta, we want to have our broth to where it fully covers, and you see down in there, guys, it fully covers our pasta, okay? Now, typically, we're going to put the lid onto R2D2. We're going to lock the lid into place, okay? Then we're going to come here on the front, and our menu button is going to let us choose low pressure or high pressure. I'm choosing high, and then I'm going to give it 7 whole minutes, okay? And then this is the hardest thing about electric pressure cooking for me, is remembering to push this one button that says start. Yeah, so we'll push that. And then here in just a minute, as this comes up to pressure, I'll kind of show you what to look for. So we're going to let this cook, all right? But just in case some of you watching tonight, if you don't have your electric pressure cooker yet, guess what? You can also make this meal right here on your stovetop. So what I've got here is my cast iron skillet. Now this is the enamel-lined cast iron, so it is perfectly fine to use on your smooth top. Now, I'm going to preheat our pan, and then right here, I've got my kielbasa. I try to keep a pound of kielbasa in my freezer at all times because kielbasa sausage is a fully cooked sausage. I'm using the smoked sausage tonight by Eckrich. So essentially, all we have to do is brown that because it's fully cooked already. So we can just brown it and get that into our dish. Also, what I have would be my chicken thighs. I love to use boneless, skinless chicken thighs, because as far as my food budget goes, these fit right in, and I love that meaty. Typically I like white meat, but I'm starting to utilize the boneless, skinless chicken thighs a lot more in dishes, just because I think that they have so much more flavor from the dark meat. So here, once this is preheated, look right here on the front, this little blinking light, pretty soon that's going to go solid. And then you'll also see this number start to go down in minutes. And then pretty soon the timer will go off here in about 6 or 7 minutes, and I'll show you what a quick release is. Now, back over to my pan, because I want to show you how to create this dish really quickly. When your kids are hungry and everybody comes home from school and from work and you want to get dinner on the table, this can be a 15-minute meal over here. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of olive oil into my skillet. I want to see if I've got any sizzle. I can't hear it. I mean, I can hear it, but I bet you can't hear it. There is a little bit. We're just browning off our kielbasa. Babe, you want to bring that over and just kind of show them what we got going on? I cut my kielbasa into little half moons here in my skillet. And I'm going to go ahead and put my sausage, I'm going to scoot it over, and I'm going to put my chicken right here in the middle, my diced chicken thighs. These are bite-sized pieces. Now, we're fully cooking the chicken, but the kielbasa, we're actually just browning it off, okay? So we're going to let that sit. And the best way to get that good browning on our food is to do what? Is to leave it alone. Don't play with your food until it gets on your plate. When it's in your pan, let it sit there, because you know I've told you this a zillion million times. Brown is not a color, it's a flavor when we're cooking. So Alice Petty, pressure cooker recipes. Uh-oh, man down. So babe, bring that camera over here and show them the skillet again. This is so important. I want you guys to see it, and I also want you to feel like you're right here in the middle of everything, and I so wish I had smell-o-vision. But look at this beautiful browning that we've got going on here in the skillet. You can see the chicken is starting to brown, and so is the sausage. Doesn't that look beautiful? This is going to elevate the flavor of our recipe so much. I can't talk enough about the power of browning. So we'll let that sit just a little bit longer. Now, when Pat brings that camera over, he's going to show you that this browning on the bottom of my pan has gotten super dark. Okay, see that right there? How that browning has adhered to the bottom of the pan? Well, I want to deglaze that pan and bring that fond up off the bottom. So guess what I'm going to do? This is just a little bit of beer that I have in here. We're going to add that and keep watching, because we're just going to give this a stir. And look how that browning, that fond, is just going to come right up off the bottom of our pan and into this chicken and this kielbasa. Okay, so added little flavor benefit right there, but we don't want to waste that. We want to get that up into what we're cooking here. Okay, so there's that. We want to go ahead and add some of our tube garlic, which is a freshly minced garlic. We'll stir that in to this and give it a little stir. Where are we at here? 2 minutes. Okay, so we're just going to keep going on that. I'm going to go ahead and add my cooked, to my meats. I'm going to go ahead and add my cooked penne pasta to this. All right, we'll give that a stir. And then right over here, I've got my half and half. So we're going to stir this in. Okay. Hear how my pan quieted down? Uh-oh, that was R2-D2 signaling that everything in there is cooked. So let's check it. I've got my half and half over here in my pasta. We'll just let this continue to simmer, okay? Now, let's do what's called a quick release on our electric pressure cooker, and that means we get all of the pressure out of there super quickly. So we go like this. Woo. And I always kind of have that come out at an angle, because if this was sitting underneath my cabinet, I don't want it spraying straight up on my cabinet. So I always angle it out, and the more full, I guess I could say, that your pressure cooker pot is, the longer it takes to get up to pressure, and also the longer it takes to let all the pressure out of the pot, okay? So when we're pressure cooking, like let's just say we're pressure cooking a pot roast on Sunday. Typically when we put that pot roast into a Dutch oven or even into our slow cooker, we have a lot of liquid in there, right? But when we're pressure cooking, the only time we use a lot of liquid is if we're cooking pasta, grains, or rice, okay? We have a lot of liquid because those things absorb that liquid. Otherwise, we only need about a half a cup to a cup of of liquid in the bottom of our electric pressure cooker when we're cooking things. So it's very much unlike what we do in a slow cooker or in a Dutch oven in the oven. Now, I can tell that my little disc here drops down, so all the pressure is out. I'm going to unlock my lid, maybe. There we go. I'm going to turn it back. Okay, there's a lot of moisture here in the lid. Let that drain down into your pot, because if you tip this back and it runs out of here and down your arm, it is very painful. You will never grow hair in that armpit again, so it's not all bad, but it does hurt. Now, Pat, if you would bring that camera over here, I want to show you guys the cool thing about cooking pasta in your electric pressure cooker is you don't have to drain anything. So see what we have in there? Our pasta is fully cooked. So now we're going to add all of our other goodies to it, which would be our cooked kielbasa sausage and our chicken. We'll stir that in, all right? And all the browning from when we browned that. We already have our garlic in there. Then we're going to stir in our half and half. Will come in next. And when I made this dish the other day, I decided that it just needs a little bit more color, along with the chicken and the kielbasa. So we're also going to stir in not only our Tony Chachere's Cajun seasoning, which your recipe calls for 1 to 2 teaspoons. Depends totally on how you like it, whether you like it really, really spicy or not. We doing okay? Yeah? Okay. So here in my skillet, we're just simmering away. Now I also have some grape tomatoes that we're going to add for a little bit of color. These were just garden fresh. You could add a can of diced tomatoes if you wanted to. And then also I have some broccoli that we're going to stir in, and this was actually a frozen broccoli, so it is parboiled. So that's going to help us speed up dinner because it won't take any time at all for that. Okay, now we're going to let this simmer just for a few minutes. Let me turn this back on. I want to let this simmer so that my sauce can thicken. I also have some grape in our skillet. This is starting to thicken nicely. So I'm just going to turn this down. I'm going to turn my burner down. Okay? And this is how my children would want it. They would want it without the vegetables, but me personally, I think that it needs to have that extra beautiful color of the red and the green. I think that just makes it so much prettier. Now to finish this, we're going to take our Parmesan cheese, and we'll just do a quick shred like this over the top. You can do this 2 ways. You can do it as a whole skillet like this, or if you want to put the cheese on there after you put it onto the serving plate, that's fine too. The other thing that we definitely want to get in here, though, would be our minced Italian parsley. Lisa said, oh, that looks... And when we're cooking with herbs, we always want to add those at the very end of the cooking process. Spices, dried spices, we add those at the beginning, but the herbs we add at the end. So I'm going to sprinkle some of those right over the top. Look how beautiful that looks. We'll add those over here as well. And I wanted to mention something too. When you're buying your fresh herbs, plastic and moisture are always going to be our enemy when we're trying to get herbs to stay fresh in our refrigerator. So what you can do is you can just wrap these guys in a nice paper towel like this, and if you have to store them in your plastic bag, at least you've got the paper towel in there to wick away any moisture that might be in there. But also what I found very helpful is to wrap my fresh herbs in my paper towel like this. I always try to cover the top part and leave the stems exposed. There's always a lot more moisture down in those leaves. Then I bend these and I put this down into a glass mason jar, put my lid on, and I store this in the refrigerator. This helps my fresh herbs to last much, much longer than if I just keep them in plastic in my produce drawer. So that's a little kitchen smack for you, just a little gift of something. I like to try to make things easier for you in the kitchen, so I just wanted to share that with you really quickly. See how beautiful this dish is, because that slurry thickened up our sauce. Look how nice and thickened that is. Can you see that down in there? I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Over here is the plain version, but you can see with the cheese on here, it's getting nice and stringy. This is a dish that everybody has told me so far that's tried it that they just love it, and you saw how easy it was to bring it all together. If you wanted to heighten the nutrition in this dish, you could switch out the white pasta for a whole wheat. I can't get away with that with my family, but more power to you if you guys can do that. So Betty says it looked joining me, you guys. I'm so glad you could be here in my kitchen tonight. Everybody have a good evening, and remember, if you have questions, you can always find me on Facebook, message me, email me, whatever you need. I'm here for you. So have a good evening, and I'll see you in May. Remember, now you're cooking. Bye.